I will move on to the final presentation for today, which is how to drive a cross-country race. Okay. First off, it's exciting to get back on the road. It's been a few years since we've done that. And so some things to remember on a cross-country race. First off, we are all ambassadors of the solar car race. So we ask that whenever you interact with the public and all the stops that we have along the way, please really take it upon yourself to be on your best behavior, be a good ambassador to talk with the community and really share the excitement of solar car racing with them. To do that, solar car racing is pretty unique. And when we start visiting these communities out there, you're going to get a pretty good crowd of people who are curious, right? And so it really helps if you designate someone on your team as the public information officer. You heard a little bit about this today from Mackenzie. And so you can have that person go and engage with the bystanders, with the audience, explain what's going on, and actually provide a little bit of safety to your car, that they're not sort of grabbing the things on your car. So that's a key part of reaching out to the community. In a road race, you start and end the day with your race judge. And you do that on a track race as well. However, in a road race, once we assign you your judge and they're with you, they essentially sit with you the entire day. You treat them essentially as a team member of yours, and you're responsible for them. And so you are responsible to provide the meal for the judge. That it's basically whatever you're having, right? So if you guys are stopping off at a fast food restaurant or something like that, you would just get one additional thing for your judge. If you're preparing sandwiches every day, that's what the judge is eating. And so you're responsible for making sure that the judge has all they need. You also do need to reserve the front passenger seat in the chase vehicle for the judge. That way the judge has visibility to the solar car, can talk with the chase car driver. So you want to save that seat for the judge. We ask that you treat the judge with respect and cooperation as you would in any race. And one of the sort of best practices that we've seen is that we have a team member serve as a judge liaison who can then talk with the judge. And you'll want to probably sit them right behind the judge so that you can talk with them and let us know what's going on. And to that point, we want to make sure that, especially on the road, you keep the judge informed about what you intend to do. A lot of times we see teams that go, hey, we're going to pull off right now. Well, the judge isn't prepared for that, and they'll help you do what you need to do. But if you give enough warning to the judge, they can anticipate and provide some assistance for you to that effect. One of the things to note is anything that you share with the judge, especially with regard to strategy decisions or things like that, they're keeping it confidential from other teams. So don't worry about not sharing with the judge something that you don't want another team to hear, because we'll protect that information for you. As we start out during the day, we ask that you be on time. We hold a driver's meeting at 8 o'clock every day to give you news of the day and to give you any race route changes or cautions that might happen. And then we ask that you be on time for lining up. When we have a lot of teams show up to the event, it takes a long time to line everyone up. And in these longer convoys during a road race, it takes much longer to line everyone up. And so we ask that you help us by getting to places on time. The other thing is we ask that you be on time for meals. So oftentimes we will arrange with the community at the ending point of the day, a meal that the community provides us. And so we want to have you show up on time to those meals so that, well, that you get your food, and then likewise that the community can see you and interact with you because they're hosting you. And so most of the time that'll be at the end of the day. Sometimes we're able to arrange for lunch instead. And so you want to be on time for those things. If you don't make it on time, you're basically getting your own meal and the meal for the judge. And so you'll want to get there on time. You also want to be very careful about what you say in public. There's a lot of people around when you're displaying or at rest stops and things like that. And sometimes people wander by one another, and you might be not even talking to them. You might be talking to your team members, and you may say some type of offhand comments like, "Oh, what a podunk town," or things like that. And people hear that, and they live there. And so you want to be very careful about what you say, especially when you are in the public. Okay. Our rules require that you take part in all the lunch stops, media stops, and displays, and we will provide that information for you in a where to be, what to do document as we get closer to the race. One of the key things in the rules to note is that if you can drive into and out of the required stops, you are required to do so. Certainly, if you ran out of energy, you can't sustain a 15-mile-per-hour speed, you're not required to do that. But if you have the ability to do so, you need to do so. And that's because we come in these communities, they have people waiting to see these solar cars, and they don't want to be able to see cars just show up on a trailer and then leave on a trailer, right? They want to see the solar car race, and you want to show off your solar cars racing. One of the other aspects that are key to a cross-country race is our passing procedures. As you know, our convoys are fairly long, right? We have a lead vehicle, solar car, chase vehicle, and then we have a second chase vehicle behind that. When you want to pass another solar car, like if you're a team that's faster than another team, there are procedures as to how you do that, but we want you to be careful and know that it's not like passing a normal car, right? You got to provide for a lot of distance in order to do that. Certainly, we're going to try to find roads with more, 2 or more lanes in each direction so that you can get by them in normal traffic. But you'll want to be careful of that. You'll also want to be careful as the team being passed. And if there are opportunities to run safely on a shoulder, maybe you want to let the passing team by moving over and letting them pass by. Certainly, the judge that's assigned to you will help coordinate that with the judge on the other team. And so we'll have radio communications between the judges so that we can make sure that a pass is safely followed. You will see in the policies and procedures for cross-country races a specific way that you designate a pass with horns and lights and things like that. And so look out for that. The other key thing for safety is that the primary chase vehicle must always stay with the solar car. You don't want any vehicle to get in between your solar car and your chase vehicle, because who knows what they're going to do. They might crash into the back of the solar car. And so to that effect, keep a good eye on intersections. And for example, if you see that you've had a stale green light for a long time, you may consider slowing down and making sure that that if the light were to turn, your solar car can stop before that before the intersection, or you may have to speed up both cars to be able to get across the intersection in time. Slowing down is probably the better choice here that gives you some safety, so you're not running a red light, right? So here's some examples of how closely we want your chase vehicle to be with the solar car, right? It's not so far away. Okay, in terms of lights, we do ask that, or we do require that your chase vehicles, both sets of chase vehicle, has 4 echo lights that are on the top left and right corners, the bottom left and right corners of your chase vehicle, so that it gives a very good visual on what's coming ahead. And a lot of teams tend to put that on their solar car head warning signs. And then the lead car needs to have an amber blinking light on the top. Okay, there are a few questions that I will address right now. How many team members from each school are allowed to participate in the challenge? And so we allow for 12 team members and 2 chaperones to be part of the team. And so you really couldn't have 2 separate groups, as was asked in the question, about having a first group be at the start of the race and then the second group join in the second half of the race, because all the team members, all the participants, essentially team members and the chaperones need to be there for team check-in. Certainly, if team members need to leave before the race is over, that's your choice as a team. But you couldn't have team members join in after the race has started because they weren't there for team check-in. A second question that was asked was the minimum distance between the lead car and the solar car. We tend to have the lead car closer to about 3 vehicle lengths ahead. It's okay, or it's allowed for a bystander vehicle to get between the solar car and between the solar car and the lead vehicle, and so you could provide some additional distance away for that, and so I think there might be some specific distance that we have in our policies and procedures document, and so you can look out for that. With regard to the question on the adults, I forgot about that part. Certainly, we prescribe for and allow for 12 team members and 2 chaperones, but we expect that there will be additional adults to support a road race, and so you'll want to have at least, you'll have a driver for each of your support vehicles, the lead vehicle, the chase 1 vehicle, and the chase 2 vehicle. And so you would just submit all those names as part of your registration.
So just to tack onto that, there are plenty of cases in the past where we've seen larger teams, mostly at track races. It's hard to carry a group that size on the road, or additional adults. Typically, that's what I was going to get at. That's something that you can work out with Dr. Marks. Yeah, beyond the prescribed amount of people, because of what we provide with the event, usually there is an additional charge for additional team members, which includes adults. Team members or chaperones. So, but that can be worked out through email with Dr. Marks. You are not limited to only 2 adults being there. Like William said, we actually expect more than that.
Yep. Thanks, Chris. There was another question on how winners are determined for a cross-country race. So on a cross-country race, there's a prescribed route that you have to run. And so unlike a close track race where you have a certain amount of time and then you can run on the track as many times as you want, on a road race, because you have a prescribed course, we essentially count the number of miles that the solar car drove. And so for you as a team, you can determine whether or not you want to drive that piece of route or you want to trailer that route. And so you will get credit for all the miles that you drove in the solar car. If there's a tie, if two teams drove the same amount of miles for a particular day or for throughout the race, then our secondary, the tiebreaker would be by average speed of that, of how fast you drove that route. Okay, any other questions while we're addressing them? Okay, so moving on. So one of the aspects, and we talked about this in the past, but we take great emphasis on having good sportsmanship, and that includes, your entire time with us in the event. Oftentimes, everyone's on their best behavior while they're on the race, and then they get back to their hotels, and then they can do all sorts of stuff. And we arrange for hotels along the race routes, and sometimes we get some reports of bad behavior by the hotel management, and then it looks poorly on us. And so we ask that throughout the course of the event, be it in your hotel or be it out in the public, that you conduct yourselves in the best way possible. To address some of safety concerns that we've had on a road race, we are something that's out of the ordinary on a road. We tend to drive slower than regular traffic. And so we expect that onlookers and drivers and even some media folks, we've had interesting experiences with media on occasion, drive, let's call it erratically, right? So we've had onlookers go and pass us on the faster lane, and then once they see the solar car, they go, "Wait, what's that?" And then they go and then slow down and sort of drive alongside the solar car, and so that makes for interesting safety concerns. And so you're going to need to be very cautious that this happens, and that you need to drive defensively. You got to make sure that you have this convoy that drives as a unit, that if you see cars trying to pass a solar car and then come in, your lead car, even though there's a recommended distance, right, 3 car lengths away or something like that, if you start seeing that happen, maybe the lead car starts backing off and closing the distance, and then you can open it back up after things are safe. So likewise, your primary chase vehicle, if you are seeing cars come closer and closer to your solar car or try to cut between you, you may want to close up that distance. Okay. And so you'll see examples of our convoys up ahead. In this particular configuration, the lead vehicle, because there's a lot of space, is much further ahead of the solar car. But I would say that if there were traffic coming here, that lead vehicle you might want to bring that back. So this is another type of picture for that convoy. And you see that the second chase vehicle is further back of the first chase vehicle. There's been a few other questions. So how does the judge track miles driven and elapsed time? We have a scoring system that will be able to track the progress of the solar cars, and we will be providing judges training on how to do that. But for teams, your judge will be tracking your progress via a GPS system. There are other questions about the official race route. As we announced at the introduction to this workshop, we are still finalizing the race route to Colorado. It will be to Colorado, but we are still finalizing that race route. And so as soon as we finalize that route, we will publish it to you in an event update. Another question, can the solar car use cruise control? We don't allow for cruise control on a cross-country race. We only allow cruise control for a track race. And so you would not be able to use cruise control on a cross-country race. Moving forward with safety, be aware of the issues that drivers would have with regard to heat. You want to definitely make sure that you rotate your drivers frequently and that they're properly hydrated. As with in the track, all the race participants have to wear full brim hats in the sun. And then solar car drivers must also wear closed-toe shoes there. There was a comment with regard to some of the pictures here that showed that there were 2 trailers in the convoy, like we have here. And so that's correct. So in this particular convoy, you have the lead vehicle, your solar car, and your chase vehicle is sort of one convoy. What's happened here is that second chase vehicle needs to be much further back from that. It shouldn't be this close to the convoy, and that particular aspect wouldn't be allowed. Okay, thanks for that question. Okay, the final comment with regard to driving that I'd like to make is we have certain guidelines for how to keep you safe on the road. However, the ultimate responsibility for driving and team actions and student conduct rests with the advisor and school representative. And so, you know, if the advisor thinks that it's safe to do things one way or the other, we're not going to override you. However, we do expect that teams will follow the safety request by race officials. And so certainly if teams have concerns with the way the judges are asking you to do certain things, you can certainly bring it up to the race director for clarification. But you know, we're trying to be there to help you be safe, and we expect that when we ask you to do something for the sake of safety, that you would follow that, or you can have a conversation with the judge to discuss what the best way to do that is. Okay.
Hey, William. On that, just jumping in to re-emphasize that point, what I've told some of the team sponsors in the past was that I see this as a situation where anyone can call a stop, be it the judge who sees something that they deem unsafe can stop the team. Likewise, with the ultimate responsibility being on the advisor or the sponsor, they can call a stop too. And we'll sort out the ramifications for the race later. But the point is, safety is the primary concern of all of us involved. And that trumps everything. So there may be repercussions with the event, but we will always encourage you to do the safe thing. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, William.
I do want to go back and clarify this particular configuration here. I was incorrect in what I shared, so let me clarify again here. Um, Only one trailer, open or closed, can be part of the four-vehicle convoy that lead, the lead vehicle, chase one and chase two. There can only be one trailer that's allowed there. And then if you have a separate trailer, it can be no closer than a mile within the convoy. And so that helps with the flow of traffic. That is part of rule 19.2.2.9. And so I was incorrect in sharing that you could have a second chase vehicle as a trailer. You won't be able to do that. That's got to be at least a mile away.
There is one other takeaway from this photo, even though that was before the rule that you were talking about for new teams, which is a lot of teams have nice enclosed trailers like you see in the back. However, that can be a bit of a limiting factor on a road race when you know that you're going to be spending a significant chunk of time trailering along a race route. There, it's a significant advantage to have an open trailer. So for the new lights, sorry, for new teams, I can't multitask. You want to consider whether or not you want an enclosed trailer, which won't allow you to charge, or if you want to figure out how you can have an open trailer for while you're running the event. That's also why we get into the situation where we have multiple trailers in the convoy, and not all the roads are quite as wide as this one that we run on. Oftentimes, we're on the other side of the road where it's single lane, and when we have multiple trailers, we cause a pretty good traffic congestion.
Thanks, Chris. Okay. At the end of the day, we'll look at impound, and so we require that you don't remove a solar car from impound without a judge being present. Normally, at the end of the day, you will be told who your next judge will be for next day, and you'll make arrangements to pick up the judge before you pick up the solar car. Sometimes we will shuttle judges over to your solar car, and you can meet them there. Sometimes you'll meet them at the hotel. But either way, if your judge is not present, you should not be taking your car out of impound. At the beginning of each day, just like in a track race, your judge will go and check your battery seals, will check your battery connections, will check the radio, we'll check your brake lights and turn signals. We'll check for the safety equipment and check the chase vehicle lights. And so just expect that type of check to be done at the beginning of each day. Here is a typical race day. The race day is pretty similar to a track race, other than the fact that once the race starts, you may have one or two rest stops and typically one lunch stop in a particular day, depending on the day and depending on the arrangements that we provide. And so for a media or rest stop, that's 15 minutes a piece. And then at a lunch stop, it's 30 minutes. And those are minimum times. You can certainly spend longer there if you desire. And then the race day ends at 5 o'clock plus whatever delta time your start time was. And so if you haven't completed the race course by then, you stop getting credit for miles accumulated. And so we ask that you trailer your vehicle at that point and then bring it to the end of day location. We'll typically schedule our meal at 7 o'clock in the evening, and then we start our impound at 9 like we do on a track race. Okay. And so I think that summarizes our cross-country race. Does anyone else have any questions?
William, there was a link that was posted with a question about the Echo lights. This was for a 3510A that there's a link to it at Home Depot. The rules do allow the 3510. The 3510A will go back and update it. It's just the latest revision of that. So yes, those are allowed, and it looks like the price varies between $70 and $90 depending on where you go pick it up. But that would be an example of the compatible light. So we'll go back, and when we do an update, we'll make sure that we include if they've updated the model to a newer rev like the 3510A, that we state explicitly it's allowed.
Thanks, Chris. At this point, that concludes. Wait, hold on, there's a question, so go ahead.
I had a question about the end of the race day. So let's say we finish with several hours left. Will we be able to charge our car before putting it into impound at the end of the day?
Yes, once you arrive at the end of day location, you can do whatever you want with the car, including setting it out for charging all the way up till the impound time. All right, this concludes our Solar Car Challenge Specialty Workshop. Wish it was in person, but I hope that it was useful to you. I will stick around afterwards. If anyone has any questions, they can just ask us. But for now, that's the end of the content. So thank you very much.